Another year has passed us by as we reach the end of the 2020 expansion pack that was 2021. I've admittedly not been around for most of the year. PC troubles and moving troubles kept me out of action for a majority of 2021 in terms of content creation, but there were still games released and you damn well know that I played them. Hey everyone, I'm Kane, and even when the world tries to stop me from doing so, I play games, and today we're going to be discussing my top 5 games of 2021. That being said, while I did go out of my way to play as many games as I possibly could, life circumstances did make it difficult, so there are plenty of titles that I never played fully, or even titles that I hadn't played at all, so they're going to be omissions from this list that might end up being here once I get around to them. On that note, however, I'd love to hear your lists down below, so you guys can let me know about any titles that I missed out on and that I need to check out. With that out of the way, I want to encourage you to leave a like on this video if you enjoy what you see today, and this is my top 5 of 2021. Number 5. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Is this a nostalgia pick? Mostly, yeah. Gen 4 was the last generation of Pokemon I played before getting back into the series this year, buying a Nintendo Switch OLED because of these games coming out. I played through Brilliant Diamond on my Twitch, twitch.tv/KanePlaysGames_, and while I think these remakes weren't as good as they could have been and have their fair share of problems, they were still a lot of fun and made for a great time streaming and reminiscing. I have 2 videos on Pokemon Brilliant Diamond that I hope to get out at some point in the new year, but truth be told, whilst I think there are plenty of other games that are arguably better which I played this year, I think these are the ones that I had the most fun with compared to those, and that really is what gave them this spot on my list. Number 4. Resident Evil Village. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at this one too, honestly. Resident Evil Village is my most played game of 2021, being a game that I played over and over and over again on my PS5 when it came out. I'm even close to platinuming the damn thing, which is only something I do for games that I really, truly love. I thought this was a guaranteed number 1 for me. It's only when I came back to the title recently to get new B-roll for my upcoming review where the title dropped a little in my estimation. I think Village is a really good game, but I think it's one that gets a little confused with what it wants to be. It tries to provide something for everyone, and kind of succeeds at that, but I don't think it was necessarily the right thing to do upon reflection. I go into this a lot more in my review, which is currently being made, so keep an eye out for that one when it drops, but I still love the game really, and I think it's more than deserving of its spot on my list. Number 3. Inscription. Easily my indie game of the year, Inscription is a title that I first played on my 24-hour charity fundraiser for Stand Up to Cancer UK, where my community raised £635. I want to thank everyone who turned out to that, by the way, because I was extremely anxious leading up to that stream that it was going to be a massive flop, but instead we got arguably one of the better charity streams we've done, and definitely the best performance we've done in terms of money raised. A massive chunk of that stream was dedicated to playing this game and just trying to work out what on earth is going on in it. I picked up Inscription after seeing a few other content creators playing it and being interested by the Steam description. I went into the game completely blind, and I was blown away by its combination of deck building, tabletop role-playing, ARGs, and a tense horror atmosphere. It essentially combined many different things that I personally love and stuffed them into an indie game, and that's all I'm gonna say. Inscription is an absolutely wild game, and one that I highly recommend you go into with as little information as possible. It honestly made the experience that much better for me, as I had no idea what to expect, and even if I did, I don't think it would have changed the experience too much, but it certainly enhanced it by not knowing. Number 2. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. If Resident Evil was the game I expected to be number 1 best game of 2021, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy definitely was the game that I expected to be my number 1 worst game of 2021, if I made that list anyway. When I first saw this game's announcement, I was very skeptical. Marvel's Avengers was a game that I disliked quite a lot while playing it, and a large factor in that comes from how the game clearly wanted to latch onto the hype surrounding the MCU at the expense of its own characters. So when seeing a Guardians game, a comic book property with the MCU as its only major source for inspiration outside of the comics, well, I was a little concerned. These concerns were very clearly in the wrong place, as what I got wasn't just a cash grab on the MCU hype, but a game that provides its own takes on each of the characters, making for an experience that doesn't feel derivative of the MCU, but in fact surpasses it in narrative quality in my opinion. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy easily has the best narrative that I played in 2021, and it's a game that charms the hell out of you as you get more and more invested into the story and where it's going to take you. It's definitely more than well deserving of number 2 on my list. Before we get to my number 1 in this list, I want to talk about 2 honourable mentions that I had, games that I enjoyed but didn't quite make the cut for me personally for one reason or another. Honourable Mention: Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. It's not a secret that I'm a fan of Insomniac and will buy pretty much any title that they release going forward until proven otherwise, and this was the case with Ratchet & Clank. I'm admittedly not a massive fan of the series, enjoying it as a kid, but being away from PlayStation for a long time made me all but forget it. When I saw a new game was coming out to flex the PS5's power, however, I knew I had to try it, and boy, it sure showed off what the PS5 was capable of in spades, with a very creative and colourful game that embraces the wacky nature of its concept. Truth be told, the only reason it didn't make my list is that it just wasn't for me. This was a game that you really needed to be a fan of the series to enjoy, which often made me feel left out of its plot. I also found the gameplay outside of its big flexing sequences to be pretty dull and repetitive, even with the large variety of weapons I had at my disposal. I found that the enemies were just too spongy feeling, lessening the impact of these cool weapons and draining the fun from the game. Honourable Mention 2: Halo Infinite's multiplayer. This one doesn't make the list for a very simple reason, and that's that it's not done, it's incomplete, and what it does have completed, I've yet to complete myself. Halo Infinite is without some of its major modes as of writing this, and while it has a multiplayer and campaign, I've only experienced the multiplayer, which is very fun despite its flaws. I'm currently going through all the Halo campaigns in my free time to do a review of them all at some point in 2022, so I'm holding off and playing too much of Infinite for the time being. While the multiplayer is fun though, one section of a game doesn't really make for an entry now, does it? And my number 1 game of 2021 is Forza Horizon 5. I'm going to level with you here. I had zero intention of playing Forza Horizon 5 before its release, because I'm not a racing game guy, and I haven't been a racing game guy for a very long time. That being said, this game is undeniably fantastic. It's just a certified banger. Firstly, look at it. I mean, come on. It's probably the greatest looking game right now, at least technically speaking. I think artistically the debate surrounding which game looks best is more open to interpretation, but when it comes down to just the raw technological achievement, well, it's undeniably Forza for me. I've spent hours just driving around in Forza, unlocking more and more cars, and don't even get me started on the photo mode. Believe me, if I could make a living just off of taking photographs of cars doing things in Forza Horizon 5, I damn well would, because it's so much fun to just play around in this sandbox. I think Playground Games have perfected the casual racing game experience when it comes to Forza Horizon 5, and to me at least, it's undisputedly the greatest game I played in 2021. Those, of course, were just my picks for the best games of 2021 though, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments section down below. Leave me your top 5, your top 10, rank every game from the year if you really want to spend the time doing that. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'd love to hear on what I potentially missed out on, so I can prioritize them going forward. Remember to click like and subscribe for future uploads if you enjoy what you saw today. Thank you all for watching this video. I've been Kane, and I'll see you all soon.